Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Normal Guy of the North here, and today we're going to take a very deliberate, data-driven look at something unusual that surfaced during this year's Santa Crate event. And just to be clear up front, this isn't about pointing fingers, this isn't about negativity, and this isn't about assuming wrongdoing. This is simply a responsible analysis of a material shift in resource outcomes wrapped in a constructive conversation that I genuinely want the community to participate in. Because many of us buy these crates every year, many of us track the returns every year, and as players, as a community, as people who steward our in-game economies and long-term account progression, it's appropriate for us to call out major year-over-year variances when they appear. Not with outrage, just with clarity. And this year, the clarity is pretty straightforward. The steel drops I received from the same number of crates have changed dramatically. So here's the baseline. I bought 80 Santa crates this year, just like I did last year, and just like I did the year before. That gives us a clean, controlled 3-year sample. No variable purchase amounts. No mixed container types. Just 80 crates in 2023, 80 in 2024, and 80 in 2025. Now, in 2023, those 80 crates gave me 24,000 steel. That's a respectable figure. It's aligned with what many players would consider a healthy return, especially when you're building towards steel ships or planning for long-term research strategies. Then in 2024, the numbers actually went up. 80 crates delivered 35,750 steel. That's a 49% increase year over year. And again, that made sense at the time. The community feedback reflected similar patterns, and the economic structure of the crates hadn't changed in any visible way. But in 2025, the return was 10,500 steel. And let me put that into context. That is not a small adjustment. That is not a minor variance. That is a 70.6% decrease compared to last year and a 56% decrease compared to the 2023 baseline. Now again, I am not saying that Wargaming reduced anything intentionally. I'm not saying the system is broken. All I'm saying is that this is a significant downturn in what has historically been one of the most valuable currencies in the game. When numbers shift this dramatically from one year to the next, especially with no stated change in drop rates, it is worth taking a closer look. Think of it like corporate reporting. If a key performance metric drops 70% year over year, the responsible thing is to highlight it, contextualize it, and invite stakeholder feedback. That's what we're doing here. I'm sharing the numbers so the community can look at the same information and help confirm whether this is an isolated experience or something broader, and I genuinely want to hear from you. If you opened crates this season, did your steel look similar? Higher? Lower? Your perspectives are crucial for building the bigger picture. Now, steel isn't the only resource I tracked. I also monitor coal every year because it is one of the primary strategic currencies for premium ships, upgrades, and long-range account planning. So, let's take a moment to benchmark coal across the same 3-year window again with 80 crates each year to keep the comparison clean. In 2023, 80 crates gave me 125,000 coal. That was a strong return, and it aligned with the expectations most players had built up over the years. Then, in 2024, my coal return dropped to 87,500. That's already a 30% drop year over year, but still within a range that might be explained by variance. Then, 2025 arrives, and my coal return is 85,000. That's only a slight decrease from last year, around 3%, but it's still notably lower than the 2023 baseline. So coal has declined overall by about 32% over 3 years. Not ideal, but not catastrophic. In contrast, steel has fallen off a cliff. That's the key point in this analysis. Coal is trending downward gradually, but steel suffered an immediate 70% drop in a single year. And again, I'm not saying why. I'm not making accusations. I'm simply presenting the numbers and observing that, if you're a player who relies on Santa crates as a steady annual source of steel, this year's returns look very different from historical patterns. What makes this particularly important is the strategic value of steel. Steel isn't just another resource. It is the gateway to some of the most powerful, most desirable ships in the game. It is tightly bound to clan competitiveness, operations, and long-term roster development. When a resource of that magnitude fluctuates by 70% in a single year, that's something players need to know about. And again, the intent here is transparency. Not anger, not claiming the system has changed, just acknowledging the variance and encouraging dialogue. Because if this turns out to be typical, if many players report the same dramatic decline, then the community deserves to understand that trend so they can make informed purchasing decisions. And if it turns out to be unusual, something only a few of us experience, then that's equally important to understand. As players, as consumers, and as a community built on shared knowledge, we thrive when we compare data, find patterns, and draw informed conclusions. That's the spirit behind this video. So please, don't hesitate to share your own crate results in the comments. The more data points we have, the more accurate the analysis becomes, and the more constructive the discussion will be. One of the reasons I felt this video needed to be made is because Santa crates are positioned as one of the most high-value, high-engagement events of the year. Many players save resources, gift doubloons, or plan their spending around this limited-time opportunity. So when the return profile shifts this dramatically, it has real implications for the community's planning assumptions. The messaging around Santa crates hasn't changed, the probabilities haven't changed, the presentation hasn't changed, but the empirical outcomes, at least in my controlled 3-year sample, have changed substantially, and it is entirely possible that this is simple variance, because variance does happen. But a 70% swing is far bigger than what most players consider normal variance. That's why community insight is essential here. And one of the most productive things we can do as a community is bring data together. Not emotion, not assumptions, not narratives, just data. The moment we aggregate multiple players' crate outcomes, we can start to see whether the numbers cluster around a common pattern or whether they diverge significantly. If dozens of players say, "Yeah, my steel was dramatically lower this year too," then we have a clear signal. If instead, we see a mix, some lower, some higher, then the variance explanation becomes more likely. This isn't just academic curiosity. Think about the impact this has on long-term account development. In 2023, you could reasonably expect that 80 Santa crates would give you enough steel to move meaningfully toward a top-tier steel ship. In 2024, you could expect even more. But in 2025, under this sample, 80 crates only give you a third of the steel compared to last year. That shifts timelines. It alters planning assumptions. It changes how players approach events, coupons, clan rewards, and investment decisions. And here's the key message I want to reinforce. This is not an accusation. This is an observation. A factual, grounded, measured observation that the numbers have changed. And as a community built on informed gameplay and strategic optimization, it is absolutely appropriate for us to highlight this type of data and ask the simple question, is everyone seeing the same thing? So again, please share your steel and coal totals if you open crates this year. You can post your crate type, your steel return, your coal return, whatever information you have. It doesn't need to be a perfect data set. Every data point helps. Now let's talk about why this matters at a deeper level. Steel is not simply a reward, it is a strategic accelerant. It determines how quickly players can reach high-impact ships like competitive destroyers, long-range cruisers, or heavy hitters that can influence clan battles and random matches. Steel also ties directly into the broader progression ecosystem, things like unique upgrades, long-term ship collections, and research-based investments. So when a core progression resource experiences a 70% drop in 1 year, the downstream implications ripple across the entire player experience. And again, this isn't about saying Wargaming reduced anything. It's about acknowledging that the outcomes players are getting look different, and that difference carries strategic consequences. One of the things I've always valued about this community is the willingness to have fact-based discussions. When something changes, we talk about it. When mechanics shift, we analyze them. And when something in the ecosystem behaves unexpectedly, whether it's matchmaker, economy, rewards, ship balance, or events, we investigate it together. That's the mature, constructive approach, and that's exactly the spirit behind this video. I also want to acknowledge that the Santa crates aren't just about steel and coal. They provide ships, boosters, camos, port slots, commanders. There's a lot of value built into them. But as many long-term players know, the steel and coal components are often some of the most strategically significant returns. So when one of those components fluctuates this dramatically, it naturally draws attention. And that brings me to the broader point. Transparency empowers players. When we share results openly and compare data, we give players the ability to make confident decisions, not based on hype, not based on assumptions, but based on real numbers from real players in real conditions. So again, I encourage you to comment with your results. Did you see steel drops that look similar? Were they higher? Lower? Did your coal hold steady? Did it drop? Your perspective might help clarify whether this is a pattern or an anomaly. As we wrap up this analysis, I want to reinforce the core message of this video. This isn't about blame. This isn't about negativity. This is about clarity, transparency, and community insight. When data behaves unexpectedly, the right move is to surface it, discuss it, and build collective understanding around it. For me personally, seeing steel drop from 35,750 last year down to 10,500 this year was a surprise. A significant one. It changed my assumptions, and it made me curious about whether others were seeing the same thing. And that curiosity is what led to this video. Not frustration, curiosity. So, as always, I'm opening the floor to you. Let me know your experience. Let me know your crate results. And let me know whether your steel returns aligned with previous years or whether they shifted dramatically like mine. The more data we gather, the more informed our conclusions will be. And with that, we're going to call it here. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it, and please feel free to click on the videos on your screen for more World of Warships content. But as always, take care, stay safe, and I wish you all the best. See you in the next one, and bye for now.